Good evening, and welcome to the first candidate forum of the 2026 Republican primary in Rockwall County. My name is David Peak, and I'm the communications chair for the county party. I'd like to welcome you here this evening, and let's give a big round of applause to the county party for putting on this great event. At this time, I would like to introduce our county chair, Ms. Sharon Henson, for some opening remarks. So let's give Sharon a warm welcome.
Thank you, David. Thank you all for coming out tonight. We are having Friday night forums that we anticipate that these may be just like Friday Night Lights football excitement. So, buckle up and let's get ready to listen and have some fun as we hear from these candidates. We are so blessed to be able to have this opportunity in America, in Texas, in Rockwall County, to listen to candidates in an open forum and have the opportunity to talk with each other and hear from each other. And instead of just what you see or read in the media, you get to have a real personal upfront with the candidates. So we're very blessed to have that tonight. Sorry, I'll look at my notes here. So as David introduced himself, he's our communications chair. We're very excited that he's going to be the MC for the evening. I would like to introduce to you our Rockwall County Republican chaplain, Casson Huddleston, to lead us in the opening prayer.
Let's stand at our feet tonight. Aren't we glad to be a Texan, amen? Is anybody thankful that our president is not Kamala Harris? Come on, somebody. That ought to give thanks tonight for something. Let's bow our heads and pray. Father, we thank you. Lord, we come before you tonight. We just give you the glory. And we thank you, Lord, that you still reign over this state, the great state of Texas, and over our nation. Father, we thank you, Lord, that as we come together tonight, come on, just pray with me. We invite your presence in this place tonight, because where the Spirit of the Lord is, there's freedom. We stand tonight not just declaring a political party, but we lift up you tonight, Lord. We thank you, Lord, your word says righteousness still exalts a nation. And we come against tonight, Lord, the wickedness of woke ideology, Lord, that tries to confuse our children. We come against, Lord, the demonic deception of the DEI division that tries to rip our nation apart. And every radical force, yes, even the radical force in the spirit of radical Islam, it seeks to tear down truth and freedom of our country. And we stand strong against it. Lord, pull it down tonight. Lord, raise up godly leaders like you have, those that are speaking tonight, who stand firm in faith. They are bold in truth and they're anchored in conviction, Father God. And Lord, let tonight be more than just gathering of politics, but Lord, a gathering of purpose. More than just a campaign time, but Lord, but a calling time. Bless our candidates with wisdom, integrity, give them grace tonight. And Lord, when it's all said and done, let Texas shine, Lord, as a beacon of light, a beacon of liberty and truth under you, indivisible, justice for all. And it's the mighty name of Jesus we pray. And everybody said, amen and amen.
Thank you, Cassie. Now, that I know got you started good. So now we're going to have Precinct Chair 2A, Julie Spokes-Owen, to lead us in the pledges.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible. God bless Texas!
Thank you. You can all have a seat. I'm going to make one shameful plug here. If you look on your seats or the ones around you, there's an invitation for you for our Lincoln Rainy Day. That's our only annual fundraiser here in Rockwall County, and we would welcome you to get a ticket if you're interested. And if you have questions, you can talk to me. There's also a couple of signs in the back where QR codes are so that you can get those tickets. And at this time, I will hand it back over to our MC for the evening, David Peak.
Thank you, Sharon. I just have a few housekeeping items, and then we're going to get right to the candidates. Again, my name is David Peak. I'm the Communications Chair for the County Party, and I will be the MC of this event this evening. Some housekeeping. Please silence your phones and take any sidebar conversations to the hallway that cannot wait. Let's all please maintain our decorum. It would be unfortunate if the courthouse security had to remove anyone this evening. The restrooms are up front. The men's room is to my right, your left, and the ladies' room is over here by the Texas flag. Tonight we will hear from candidates for the following offices in this order. Candidates for Texas Attorney General, and then we will have a brief recess, and then candidates for Rockwall County Court of Law, number 1. In both of these races, there is no incumbent running, so it is of utmost importance to the Rockwall County Republican primary electorate to get this right. Yes. Questions have been vetted and selected by the county party's forum committee. We will be taking a recess after the first portion again. Feel free to visit the candidates during the recess, and if you visit the candidate tables during the program, we ask that you keep conversations to an absolute minimal. Again, I'm the MC, but I'm not the moderator. Our lead moderator this evening is Precinct Chair, Mr. Andrew Greenberg. Let's give him a round of applause. And he will be assisted by Mr. Brett Bushnell, President of the Rockwall County Young Republicans. And at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Mr. Andrew Greenberg, who will be taking it from here.
Thank you, Mr. Peak. So we are very excited to have 3 of the candidates for Attorney General here with us tonight, giving them an opportunity to speak, because they know, even though we might be the smallest county in Texas, we are the reddest, and we are going to deliver. Are we, folks? All right. So here's how the Attorney General Forum is going to work. Each candidate is going to be given 15 total minutes to speak. We have allowed them the opportunity to speak for however long they want for a speech that they're going to give to you. And then any remaining time that they have as part of that 15 minutes, we are going to ask them a series of questions. After, and if they're still here during the recess, we encourage you to go ask any questions, any follow-ups, get to know them any more, see their campaign literature they have available. But I also know that you didn't come here to listen to me, so let's get right on into it. I'd like to welcome to the front here Mr. Mays Middleton. He's going to start us off with the Attorney General Forum. Give him a round of applause, please.
Well, howdy, Rockwall. I see Bob Hall here, served with him in the Texas Senate. You got a conservative champion there, Judge New in the back. Katrina Pearson, y'all have an outstanding state representative. It is great to be back in Rockwall. I was over in Tarrant County today, and they dedicated their new 10 Commandments monument. Isn't that awesome? I know, right here. Y'all got one income. You voted in May to have one in Rockwall County as well, because this is what we know. All authority of government is derived from God. Everything that we do must be built on that foundation that's right above the doors of this courthouse. In God we trust, because we are in a spiritual battle. And today, when that monument was being dedicated, the Rainbow Mafia was out in force. They had these signs that said, "Stop the Christian nationalists." And I get called that all the time. And I say, so what? I love the Lord and I love America. That's all that matters. And this is a battle against the dark. We are the light here in this room. And I can tell you this as well. I am the only one in this Attorney General's race that's been protested at your Texas Capitol. They had these big, ugly green signs with my face on it, X's through my eyes, and they called me the bathroom bigot. Why? Because I don't want men in my little girl's restroom or locker room or shower. It is that simple. And they didn't stop there, unfortunately. That's not where that ended. They threatened my life. They threatened my children's lives. That's the evil that we're up against. But I will not bend. I will not relent. I will not allow evil like that to determine the direction of our state or of our nation. Because at the end of the day, this is a Christian nation. This is a Christian state. And as it says in the preamble to our Texas Constitution, humbly invoking the blessings of Almighty God. That's a prayer, is what that is. And what this office is about, what the Attorney General's office is really about, is defeating the left. And there is a reason why they're threatening me like that. There is a reason why they're protesting me. It's because I'm already beating the left. They know who their true enemy is in this race because I'm already defeating them. And look, this is a calling for me. This is not a job. And like our president, I give away the salary. I don't take it. I don't wear the gold pin. I don't need it. You know why? Because it belongs to you. I don't take the pension. I don't take the state license plate that can take you, frankly, get you out of traffic tickets. It's true. I can. It's hard to give up. It is. And parking tickets. One of the meters expired, that too. But I don't take it. Like, I don't take the state health care. I don't take the lobbyist NFL tickets. I don't take anything from this job because I'm only here to serve and to fight for the conservative values that brought us here tonight, the same values that our founding fathers fought for in 1836. And that's exactly what I have done since day one in office. You know, I actually ran against a Republican incumbent that was not living up to his conservative promises. I knocked on 6,000 doors and won. And then was chairman of the Texas House Freedom Caucus after that. When I ran for Senate, President Trump said my conservative record was second to none. And look, one of the things that is fundamental to why we're here tonight, we're tired of politicians telling us what they're going to do. They need to show us the results because this is a show me, don't tell me business. And I can show you those results. I fought the woke left's radical gender ideology and won. Authored and passed the Save Women's Sports Act and the strongest Women's Privacy Act in America. And I'll give you a little picture of who opposed that, by the way. It was a bunch of men in makeup in women's dresses. We're not allowing mental illness to determine the future of our great state, because that's what it really is. It is mental illness. And I fought the atheists, defeated them and won, and authored and passed the law, put prayer back into our classrooms in Texas, and the 10 Commandments back on the wall of every classroom, because children need to know God's law. And have y'all heard of James Tallarico? Running for U.S. Senate. And this guy claims to be a pastor. And he says the 10 Commandments is unchristian and un-American. Talk about a false prophet. So how did I respond to that? Well, I responded by donating 10 Commandments posters to all the schools in his district, in his honor. They didn't seem to like that very much. But we have to bring the fight to the left. We have to go on the offense. And that's why in Austin, I took on our foreign enemies in the legislature and passed the law to stop China from buying our land, from enemy countries from buying Texas out from underneath us. I will not allow that, not on my watch. Not only that, designating cartels as terrorist organizations, tripled border security, and I'm now taking on our newest fight, our most growing threat, which is Sharia law and Islamification.
All right.
This is a threat to our republic because they don't think we deserve the right to exist, not just as Americans, but as Christians. And I'll be very blunt. Sharia law is organized crime, period. And I will treat it as such as Attorney General. And look, for 7 years, I've been writing these laws, drafting them, defending them against attacks by Democrat attorneys in the House, defending them against attacks by Democrat attorneys in the Senate, getting them over the finish line and winning. Who better to enforce these laws than someone that was on the ground floor writing them and already defending them against the attacks by the left? And trust me, we were and we are under attack by the left in Texas. The fight has come to us. And look, because of that proven conservative record, that's why I've been endorsed by the leading conservative groups you've got to have to win a statewide primary like Texas Values, Texas Homeschool Coalition, Texas Eagle Forum, Moms for America, True Texas Project has endorsed me in this race. Riley Gaines, David Barton, I saw Tim Barton there today at the Ten Commandments Monument dedication. 51 Trump-endorsed legislators, a majority of our state Republican executive committee members. It's because I've been in the trenches with you, fighting the left and winning for our great state and for our children, because we know the left is coming for our kids. That's really what they're about. I mean, these are the same people that said it was dangerous to display the Ten Commandments, that it was dangerous to pray in schools, but that it was just fine to show pornography to kids. That is the evil that we are up against right now. And look, this office is 4,000 employees, over 750 attorneys. And like Attorney General Paxton, I'm a civil attorney in the oil and gas business, which he was before he got elected Attorney General in 2014. And the reason why we supported him was not because of that. It was because he had the most conservative ranking in the Texas Senate. He was in the top 1 or 2. He was a Texas senator. That's why we supported him in 2014. And I have that same proven conservative record, the top 1 or 2 most conservative members in the Texas Senate. Also, with an agency of that size, you got to hire the very best talent to execute. The AG is not in the courtroom. The reason why is because he's busy leading. That is exactly what he should be doing. And you need someone that has signed the front of a paycheck and knows where the buck stops. I've started companies, I've run companies, I know how to lead, and I have that experience to lead and hire the best talent to deliver those results for our great state. And that agenda is a big one in front of us right now. Number one, you've seen what's happening in Minnesota, right? Where they're blocking ICE, where they're stopping them from doing their job to just secure the border and deport illegal immigrants. That's why I will devote every resource and tool in the AG's office to backing up President Trump and his border security and deportation agenda. And what will I do to those in the way? What would I do to those they did this in Texas like they're doing in Minnesota right now? I will enforce our ban on sanctuary cities. 3 ways I'll enforce it. I will sue for civil penalties, criminal penalties, and number 3, removal from office. If any local elected official, any George Soros elected official is getting in the way of ICE, our state deportation laws, President Trump's deportation agenda, I've got 0 tolerance, and I will sue to remove them from office. And election integrity, incredibly important going into the 2026 election. So many of y'all have fought for that in this audience here tonight. So many of y'all were disappointed when that power was taken away from the Attorney General in 2021, because we all know here, George Soros elected DAs will not prosecute voter fraud. They will not do it. That's why you have to have that power in the AG's office, and that is exactly why I fought for it. I asked Governor Abbott to add that to the special session agenda. He did. We passed it in the Senate. We passed it in the House. It is law. We've got to take step 2, which is a standalone task force division with law enforcement powers to investigate and prosecute those that are breaking our election laws. We got to get that done because we know this as well. We've got to make sure only legally qualified citizens are voting in the great state of Texas. And we got a lot ahead of us too. We don't know what came over in the last 4 years. There was an open border. Joe Biden put illegal immigrants before the rights of citizens. But it's up to us to clean that up. Because law and order, tough on crime, that's America first. I want to make sure that Texas is the, capital T, the safest state in America to live and raise a family. And we'll accomplish that goal. But we got to be tough on crime. And I will be tough on crime with that anti-organized crime, anti-cartel division. And when I think of organized crime, I'm not just thinking of Sharia law. I'm thinking of one person in particular as well. The person that paid for the No Kings rallies right here. The person that paid to elect a George Soros DA in Dallas County. The person that paid for the riots in 2020. It's George Soros. On day 1 in office, I will investigate George Soros for the crimes that I believe he has committed against our great state. And look, I'm not retreating from Washington, D.C., because I'm never going to Washington, D.C. I'm a 7th generation Texan. I've always known that the fight is here. I was born here, and I'll be buried here. And Macy and I were blessed to have 4 little ones. 3 boys, 1 little girl. Little girl, yeah, she's got me wrapped around her little finger. Don't know how to say no. It's always a yes. But you know, those 4 little ones, they're my daily reminder of what we're fighting for here and what is at risk. And the reason why it's so important is we don't have another Texas to move to. This is it right here. Rockwall County is the front lines. How many other counties are putting up 10 Commandments monuments like Judge Newman has in Commissioner's Court? Hardly any. That tells you the answer of how tough this fight really is in Texas. We cannot take this for granted. But I do know this. We will prevail. And the reason why that we will is we have the conviction on our heart to go win this because our faith in the other side does not. May God bless you. May God bless Rockwall County. And may God bless the great state of Texas. Thank you.
Okay, up next, we would like to invite Senator Huffman up to the front to allow us an opportunity to hear her. Again, a quick reminder, every candidate is given 15 minutes. They are going to let us know how they wish to use that time. We're willing and ready to ask questions, but if they'd like to tell you their platform for the full 15, that's their prerogative. So we're gonna please welcome Senator Huffman.
Great. Hello, everyone. It's great to be here in Rockwall County. Sorry it's a little bit late getting here, and I discovered that the traffic up around Rockwall and Dallas is as bad as it is in Houston, right? So anyway, but it's great to be here tonight. I'm excited to have 15 minutes to talk to you, to tell you about myself. I was here, seems like a couple of months ago, at a rally on a Saturday. Maybe some of you were here, so if you hear some of the things you've heard before, I apologize for that, but I'm so excited about this opportunity to introduce myself to you. So I'm Joan Huffman. I'm Senator Joan Huffman. I live on a ranch in Colorado County. Spent a lot of time in the Houston area. I've been a senator, elected in 2008. I represent part or all of about 8 counties. I represent all the way from Harris County down to Jackson County, so I have a lot of urban voters, a lot of suburban voters, and a lot of rural voters. So I represent all different kinds of Texans, have had a lot of experiences. I'm originally from Louisiana, but I got here as quick as I could. After I graduated from LSU, I moved here. I moved to Houston. I got a job in 1981 as a secretary at the Harris County District Attorney's Office in Houston. Saw a little ad in the newspaper, applied, and was hired. Decided I wanted to be a prosecutor, so I went to law school at night, worked my way through law school, did internship, secretarial work, and when I graduated, they hired me as a prosecutor. I spent 14 years in Harris County, the 4th largest county in the U.S. That had changed a little, but a very busy district attorney's office. And from there, I worked my way up from being a baby misdemeanor prosecutor all the way up to being a chief felony prosecutor. Tried over 100 jury trials, was assigned as a chief felony prosecutor, a gang special crimes prosecutor, and I spent a year and a half as the chief legal counsel for the Organized Crime Narcotics Task Force. Back in those days, I was assigned to work with local, state, and federal officers. I wrote their warrants, I went out on their raids with them, I did surveillance with them. I unfortunately was there in a car when one of them was shot going into a house. So I have a great deal of experience over the years looking at organized crime, working with law enforcement. Tried all kind of cases, including capital cases, death penalty cases where individuals have since been executed. After I had served that time as a prosecutor, many hours in the courtroom, every day in the courtroom actually, I decided to run for criminal district court judge. I was elected twice. I presided over tens of thousands of cases, again, in an extremely busy courtroom in Harris County, in the court every day for many years. In 2008, an open seat became available in the Texas Senate, which those who follow politics, and you do if you're here, I assume, you know that doesn't happen very often. So I decided to throw my hat in. It was a really tough race. It was a special election, but I won, and I was elected. Had to, knock on doors, beg for money, work very hard. I was the complete underdog. Nobody thought I had a chance. But I worked really hard, and guess what? I won, and I beat a Democrat, Chris Bell, who was very well known at the time. He ran for governor in a very tough election. I've been elected several times since 2008. So what have I done in the Senate? I've been a very conservative state senator who has had extreme responsibilities throughout my tenure. I have served as chair of state affairs, chair of jurisprudence, chair of redistricting, and I am currently the chair of finance, which I've served for about 4 years. So what does all that mean? I became chair of state affairs with Dan Patrick. Everybody knows your lieutenant governor. Everybody knows how conservative he is. When he became lieutenant governor, I had served with him as a senator. He appointed me as the chair of state affairs. That is where all of his conservative legislation passed through in those days. Some of that has changed a little over the years, but at that time, that's where all the pro-life bills went, all the Second Amendment bills, a lot of the bills dealing with religious freedom, with free speech, all of that went through state affairs. I handled that. I either carried legislation or shepherded all of that legislation, that initial very conservative legislation that came out of the Senate and the legislature when Dan Patrick became the lieutenant governor. We talk about election integrity. We forget that back then in the 2011, 2013, we didn't have voter ID. I passed the first bill, wrote and passed the first bill that was held up and affirmed by the courts that provided for our first voter ID laws in Texas. I bet a lot of you didn't know that. When it came to campus free speech, we talk about Charlie Kirk now, God bless him, God rest his soul, and the wonderful things he did. But what was happening on Texas campuses is they weren't letting the conservatives come and talk in college campuses. Someone like Charlie Kirk, who drew a large crowd in protest, they were not allowing them. I passed the strongest campus free speech bill in the country that opened up the college campuses for those advocates for our conservative policies like Charlie Kirk. And in fact, I was invited to the White House, that was during President Trump's first term, for a roundtable because they wanted to talk about what we had accomplished in Texas. Another issue that I worked on, and I saw the problem long before it became one of the issues of the day that we talk about, and that's Sharia law. In 2019, it became clear to me, because of some things that were happening in my Senate district in Fort Bend County, that Sharia law was starting to seep into our courts. And it was coming in the form of a family law. So, and we would see it in some of the prenuptial agreements, some of these marriage agreements, and just different little issues in family courts. I wouldn't have known it, but I had constituents who came to me and said, look, this is what we're seeing. And so I passed a bill that said that Texas law, they had to, courts had to follow Texas law. There could be no implementation of Sharia law in Texas court. And that bill, that law has been upheld even very recently in the Texas Supreme Court that upheld that law. So that's our basis as we move forward and we see Sharia law creeping into our state. I built that base back in 2019 as a precursor to some of the issues that we're seeing now. But thank God that is in place, and that will be the basis for what I would assume would be more legislation moving forward. I was also chair of redistricting. What does that mean? It means I have a very good working knowledge, legal knowledge of all the redistricting law. One of the main jobs of the Attorney General is to defend the maps that the Republican legislature has drawn, defend those through the courts all the way up to the Supreme Court if necessary. And that's a process that is actually ongoing now. I've been chair of finance now for 2 sessions. And prior to that, I served on the finance committee for many years as one of the work group chairmen, which means I was working very closely on a lot of the complicated issues that dealt with law enforcement, border security, the judicial system, and all the funding that goes along with that. When it is time to write the $340 billion state budget, that's every penny we spend in the state of Texas, nobody comes to me and hands me a big, and it's about this thick, the bill, hands it to me and say, Joan, here's the budget, now it's your job to pass it. That's not the way it works. I sit in a room for months, along with about 50 people who are very knowledgeable in different subject areas, my staff, the House Appropriations Chair and their staff, the governor's staff, the lieutenant governor's staff, a lot of people. But we go through that budget line by line. We discuss the agencies. We discuss how the money's being used. We discuss the needs of the agency, how many employees they have, what their issues are, what IT they need. You name it, we talk about it. You know, the job of the Attorney General is to defend these state agencies. You're the lawyer for the state. You're the lawyer for I'm going to call it the bureaucracy, of the huge bureaucracy of this state. It's almost mind-boggling how big our state is and what it takes to run it. I have a very good working knowledge of all that. I've been doing it for years. I've always focused, and my interest and my passion is always around criminal justice and law enforcement. Because of my background, all these years, I've always served on the Criminal Justice Committee, and I have been the tip of the spear with major legislation dealing with anything that protects Texans. I wrote most of the bills working with human trafficking. We saw this issue coming up about 15 years ago. I started working with this. The Attorney General's office have a human trafficking task force that I've worked closely with all of those individuals on, and that team for many years, carrying their legislation that they have always thought would help in different ways, whether it's protection of the victims, stronger penalties for the perpetrators, just from all kind of different angles. passed numerous pieces of legislation to help prosecutors with evidentiary issues, increasing punishment for the most violent. And what I'm probably proudest of is the bail reform legislation that has just been passed. Many of you saw that on the constitutional amendment ballot if you voted in November. And finally, we will be able to hold the most violent offenders without bond if it is proven that they can be a continuing threat or a threat to the community and or law enforcement. So finally, the judges have a tool. I've worked very hard to bring more transparency to the judiciary, whether it's in the form of easier to make the complaints. We've changed a little bit about the makeup of the Judicial Conduct Commission, and working on issues to make our criminal justice system into something that protects you. It should be about what can we do to keep you safe, keep your kids safe. We saw fentanyl, just what a scourge on our state, on our nation, and it's just pouring over the border. Now Trump is trying to get a hold of that, but it's still coming across. And we could see it was killing more young people than all the other crimes and all the other causes of death combined. It's frightening what was happening. So we decided, I thought, well, let's make it we have to have more deterrence than we have now. So I made it the crime of murder. If you sell someone some drugs and it has fentanyl in it, even if you don't know there was fentanyl and they die, then you could be charged with murder. And that has been successfully prosecuted already a couple of times, probably more, but at least 2 that I know of here in Texas. So just things, working on issues that make sense. And I have been building on this for many, many years. Passing the bail reform was difficult because we had the House of Representatives had a solid core of, they were Democrats who just refused to support it, and it needed a constitutional amendment, so we had to have 100 votes in the House. So it was a major battle to get that accomplished. I tell you this so you know, I'm a fighter, and I've been working at this for a long, long time, and I have results to show you. I could sit here and tell you about all kind of legislation that I've passed, and you probably would get really bored before too long. But I have passed almost 500 pieces of legislation, not just criminal justice, not just the financial part of the budget, not just conservative issues, but I also take on big, practical, important issues that keep the state running, like pensions. Now that'll put everybody to sleep, right? But the pension system, which is a very complicated issue, needed to be reformed in Texas. And we have worked at that slowly, whether it's the teachers' retirement system, the ERS, which is the state workers' employment system, the Houston police system, fire pension system was a complete mess, and that was a major battle to get that. But over the years, I've managed to get that accomplished, and from that have been able to do, major reforms. There has never been an attorney general in the history of Texas who has my qualifications. There's never been a former prosecutor with lots of litigation experience, a former criminal court judge, so I presided over the laws, I prosecuted the laws, and then a conservative state senator who has written laws for years, who has real results. Everyone else has little pieces of that or nothing at all, but no one else has had this specific background. I will also say I would be the first woman and the first mother. I am a mother of a 28-year-old son who is a JAG in the Army. So I would be a different person than maybe you've seen before, but what you'll have is a person who will represent you with passion, who will be a fighter, who will always be straightforward with you. Am I out of time? Yes, I'm out of time. I hope that you will take the time to find out a little bit more about me at joanhuffman.com. consider me when you make your decision. I know it's an important one, but I promise you will never regret your decision to vote for me. God bless you all. I'll leave it with this. Stand firm in faith. Be brave, be strong, and do all that you do with love, because I try to live my life by that. God bless you.
Thank you, Senator Huffman. Okay, and our third candidate this evening that we're excited to bring up, Mr. Aaron Wrights. Please give him a hand.
All right, howdy Rockwall County, my name is Aaron Wrights, and I am your Paxton-endorsed, Trump-trusted candidate for Texas Attorney General. Now, I'm running for Texas Attorney General because I believe that we are in a battle for the soul of our state and our nation. And I know from long-fought personal experience that the primary arena in which we are fighting the dark forces of the left is the justice system. This is something that President Trump understood well and campaigned on when he won overwhelmingly both the Electoral College and the popular vote in November of 2024. And one of the first things that he did in November and December of 2024 to begin the process of making good on that commitment to restore integrity, confidence, transparency, fairness, to something that we would all agree was an inherited, completely broken and corrupt and weaponized justice system. One of the first things that he did is he nominated me to serve as the presidentially appointed, Senate-confirmed head of the Office of Legal Policy at DOJ. And when he nominated me, he put out a statement. And he said, Aaron Wrights is a true MAGA attorney and a warrior for the Constitution. Now, on the one hand, that is a good shorthand for what our next Attorney General ought to be. But more fundamentally, there is a reason why the President used those words to describe me. It's because he looked at my background leading legal troops into legal combat to deliver legal victories for our conservative Republican values and for our Constitution. What is that background? Well, first and foremost, he saw somebody who started his career as an officer in the United States Marine Corps. Somebody, I know there's at least one Marine in the audience, I met him. Oh, there's two? Okay, once you say Marine, they start barking and stuff like that. So, anyway, we're going to be having a cram dessert reception after this, hosted by me, for those who enjoy. But he saw somebody who started his career as a Marine officer, leading Marines, who went to Afghanistan, deployed to the Northern Helmand Province. Well, sure, thank you for that. We got one guy that's pumped it out of Afghanistan over there. He's licensed. Who then went on to serve 5 years on active duty, go to law school, and even as a law student, lead nationally recognized conservative student legal organizations. Who then went on to clerk in our state's highest court, the Texas Supreme Court, for the now Chief Justice Jimmy Blacklock. Somebody who spent several years in private practice before getting elevated to serve as Ken Paxton's deputy, and as he liked to refer to me as his offensive coordinator. And my primary job during my 3 years as Paxton's right-hand man was to sue the ever-living heck out of the Biden administration. And I'm proud to say that I sued the 46th president 46 times, and I won 85% of those cases. But it wasn't just going to war against the Biden administration and all of its various illegal and unconstitutional power grabs. It was going to war against big tech, big pharma, big blue cities and counties, big Democrat school districts that are indoctrinating our kids, institutions of higher education, nonprofits, private companies. If you stood as a threat to our constitutional values and the rule of law, it was my job to find you, hunt you down, investigate you, and sue you into oblivion. That's all I do. That's what I am made to do. I'm not made to be a politician who is looking at the next rung in a ladder because the next thing became available before they can make a run for governor or senator or whatever it is that they're itching to jump to the next thing. I am a courtroom lawyer who destroys the left up and down the chain of the justice system. That's what I do. Now, I went on to serve as Senator Ted Cruz's chief of staff, but it was in November that I began to get the call to come down to West Palm Beach and then ultimately Mar-a-Lago to visit with the president and get nominated my senior executive post at DOJ. I had to go through Senate confirmation to head up the Office of Legal Policy. I'm proud to say that when I got confirmed by the United States Senate, I got precisely 0 Democrat votes. And in fact, I'll be honest with you. Had I gotten even a single one, I would have been too embarrassed to run for Attorney General, I think. I certainly wouldn't be standing in front of a hardcore group of Republicans. Because I would have thought to myself, what did I do in my past that made a Democrat, even a single one of them, vote yes on me? But blessedly, I got 0 Democrat votes, made it through, and chaired the Office of Legal Policy for the spring season as Attorney General Bondi's Chief Legal Policy Advisor, effectuating and bringing to life all of the Justice and DOJ-related executive orders that came from the President. Now, the President, the Attorney General, many others understood that when Paxton announced to move on from AG, that we needed a vetted, tested, proven, trusted, tried lawyer, litigator, fighter in the courtroom to succeed him. Not a politician, not a climber, but somebody who's covered in battle scars fighting troops in legal combat. Now look, it's my view, and the reason why I'm running is because it is someone with that kind of background that is ideally suited to serve as the next Chief Legal Officer of Texas. It's very important to remember this. We haven't had to choose in an open primary in over a decade. As the MC was saying at the beginning, we haven't had to choose as grassroots Republicans, primary voters, in an open field who's going to be our next AG. It's been an incumbent for over a decade. And so I always point to this provision in the Texas Constitution that created the Office of the Attorney General. And it's Article 4, Section 22 of the Texas Constitution. It says, quote, "The Attorney General shall represent the state of Texas in all courts and pleas." This is a legal, law enforcement, executive branch job. It is not a legislative job. And so if any candidate, like the 2 that preceded me, want to list the various pieces of legislation that they worked on, which I may like a whole lot, and we may give applause lines because the lines are delivered in order to get an applause, that's what politicians do. We may like all of these pieces of legislation, but you should ask yourself, what is this person applying for? What job are they applying for? Are they applying for re-election to the legislature? In that case, your legislative record is highly relevant. What you did in the legislative body matters. But nobody up here tonight is applying to the legislature. We are applying to be the state's lawyer, the chief legal officer of Texas. The only record that matters is one's civil legal record, not criminal law record, because this isn't a prosecution position. This isn't the state DA. This is why Governor Abbott has proposed the creation of a state prosecutor. Why? Because the Attorney General is a civil litigator, taking civil disputes, constitutional disputes, all the way up to the Texas and U.S. Supreme Courts. So if you have a candidate that stands in front of you and says, I did this bill, I did that bill, that's great. I want to hear your legal record. One of my opponents earlier said, this is a show me, don't tell me job. I agree. Show me your legal record. If you went to law school 15 years ago and immediately inherited your dad's oil company, and you never practiced law a day in your life, you've never represented a client, you've never won a case, you've never brought an appeal up to the U.S. or Texas Supreme Courts, I'm sorry, you might be a nice guy, but you're not fit to be the chief legal officer of Texas. It's that simple. It's nothing personal. It's just the weight of this office is too significant to turn it over to somebody who says, I sponsored this bill. Let me tell you something about all the good bills that we celebrate and clapped here tonight. Every single one of them, every single one, the maps, the 10 Commandments, women's and girls' protection, property tax issues, regulatory issues, you name the issue. every single provision in every single one of those bills is currently in litigation in every single court in the state and federal justice systems. You need a lawyer who knows how to win for the state. You heard something else tonight. Who better to defend the laws in court than the one who worked on the laws? Well, let me answer it with this question. I'm a Marine. Colt Manufacturing makes the M4 service rifle. If we've got enemies abroad to go fight, who do you send into combat? The manager at Colt Manufacturing, or the Marine who has carried that weapon into combat to vanquish many enemies? You've got a whole bunch of different tech companies that make advanced fighter jets. Who do you send into combat? The aerospace engineer? Or the pilot with thousands of hours of combat sorties dropping bombs on our enemy's head? We know the answer to this question. It's a completely different sport. In fact, I was talking to a couple of attorneys before this event started. And I analogized it to this. I said, you remember what happened when Michael Jordan thought he could play baseball? You guys remember what happened with that? Oh, but he was such a good basketball player. Why wasn't he a starting baseball player? Well, duh, totally different sport. Completely different sport. So I don't know what the analogy, I'm going to mess up my word. Don't elect the Michael Jordan who might be good at basketball. This is baseball. Totally different game. What am I running on? I'm running on my record, litigating, investigating, suing, defending, and appealing on all of the major issues that we here in this room care about. Whether your issues, what gets you out of bed or to the polls, is election integrity, border security, Second Amendment issues, free speech, religious liberty, pro-life, pro-family, pro-faith, energy and the environment, big tech, big pharma, big blue cities and counties, property taxes. You name the issue. Whatever gets you up out of bed, I guarantee you that I have racked up legal victories, leading legal troops into legal combat to deliver legal victories on behalf of the state of Texas and Texans. That's my record. That's why when Ken Paxton endorsed me to succeed him, in his endorsement statement, even though he has known all of the candidates in this race for decades, he nevertheless said Aaron Reitz is the only qualified candidate in this race. He is the only candidate that I would trust to pass the baton down to. This is why President Trump trusted me to serve in the senior-most ranks of the Justice Department. And if my opponents wouldn't have even gotten an entry-level legal position at the Office of the Attorney General or in any department in the Trump administration, what makes them presume to want to be the managing partner of the largest and most powerful red state law firm in the country? The stakes are simply too high. Now, in my closing 2 minutes, I want to share this with you. First time I ever swore an oath to the United States Constitution, it was as a brand new second lieutenant in the United States Marine Corps. I was 22 years old. Sadly, my hair was already rapidly approaching its current state.
What hair?
I know. Yeah. Hey. Oh, I mean, who said what hair? He says, what hair? Yeah, it's a self-deprecating joke. Let me have it. And I raised my right hand, and I said, I, Aaron Reitz, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. Now, back then, as a child of the era of the war on terror, I primarily thought about those foreign enemies. I didn't know, am I going to go to Iraq, Afghanistan, Saddam, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, terrorism, suicide bombers, 9/11. This was what I thought about. I thought about that clause as the foreign enemies of the Constitution. The next time that I swore that oath was nearly 20 years later. And it was in the West Wing, and my wife and 4 kids were at my left, and Attorney General Bondi on my right. And I raised my right hand and I swore the exact same oath, word for word. And yet I had come to fully appreciate that even though we do in fact have serious foreign enemies that I do often think about, and we as Americans ought to care about, I'm here to tell you from my personal experience, fighting up and down the chain of the justice system, that the primary enemies that threaten our Constitution and our way of life are the domestic enemies right among us. I'm talking about the Muslim invaders. I'm talking about the foreign invaders. I'm talking about the visa scammers that are taking jobs from us. I'm talking about the people that want to sell Texas land to the highest bidder, doesn't matter what their loyalties are. I'm talking about the local school districts that'll run you out of house and home so they get more money for their DEI programs. I'm talking about the 1619 Project BLM terror people that want to view everything through the lens of race, that they want to discriminate against white people so they can get the higher quotas for them. I'm talking about the people that want to open up the borders. I'm talking about the people that hate our Lord and Savior. They hate your skin color. They hate our history. They hate our language. They hate our culture. And they have unlimited funding, national power, and they control all of the major levers of modern civilization. And we are at war with them. They are our enemy. They threaten our Constitution at every turn. And now the time has come, for the first time in over a decade, to choose your Attorney General to lead legal troops into legal combat to destroy the dark forces of the left. And with the same sense of seriousness that I had as a lieutenant going abroad to Afghanistan and fighting those foreign enemies of the Constitution, my commitment to you as the next Attorney General of Texas is to fight and defeat the domestic enemies of our Constitution right here at home. My name is Aaron Wright. I'm running for Attorney General. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Wright. A round of applause for all of our Attorney General candidates, please. We're very fortunate to have these candidates that come from Rockwall County, so make sure if you see them out during our break that you shake their hand, get their campaign materials, learn a little bit more about them. At this time, we are going to take a 10-minute break. So there's water on the center table here, some chips, restrooms on either side of this auditorium. Talk to these candidates, folks. You'll be voting for them. We'll be back here in about 10 minutes.
Good evening. We're going to start our second part of the program. This is where we get to hear from candidates for County Court of Law number 1. In a second, I will be introducing them. We could have gone by ballot order. We could have gone alphabetically, but we opted to do reverse alphabetical order just to make things a little different. So at this time, if you could please give your attention. For each one of the candidates, I'm going to read a short biography that the candidates have submitted. We have not edited these at all. We proofed them to make sure that they were good to go. Nothing too crazy. And I'll be reading the bio for each one as we introduce them. When I introduce them, please hold your applause till we finish the bio, and then we'll do that one at a time. So first, our first candidate for County Court of Law, number 1, is Tiffany Miller. Tiffany brings more than a decade of legal experience. Please hold your applause till after I read the bio. Tiffany Miller brings more than a decade of legal experience that is specific to the County Court of Law number 1. She has a deep commitment to conservative values and a lifelong dedication to protecting children and keeping Rockwall County families safe. She is a certified mediator in civil and family cases and has been admitted to practice in federal courts across Texas. Tiffany has her certification from the State Bar of Texas for attorney ad litem, did I pronounce that right? And serves as amicus attorney. She is a member of numerous bar associations, including Fellow with the College of the State Bar of Texas, Life Fellow with the Texas Bar Foundation, and a lifetime member of the Texas Family Law Foundation. With the creation of this new court, we have an opportunity to set a high standard, one rooted in the rule of law, personal responsibility, and respect for the families who place their trust in our judicial system. Tiffany is ready to bring her experience, work ethic, and conservative leadership to this new role. Please welcome Tiffany Miller. Our next candidate is Ben Massar. Ben Massar has over 30 years of legal experience including serving as Justice of the Peace for Rockwall County Precinct Number 2, Assistant District Attorney for Galveston County, and 24 years as an independent courtroom lawyer. With degrees from both UT Dallas and South Texas College of Law, Judge Massar's leadership within the legal community includes serving as president of both Rockwall County Bar Association and the Lamar County Bar Association. Beyond the courtroom, he is also a licensed real estate agent, helping local families buy and sell homes. Welcome, Ben Massar. Our next candidate is Cameron Cowan. Cameron is a graduate of Rockwall High School, Baylor University, and Texas Tech University School of Law. He served as a prosecutor for over 14 years, trying everything from DWIs to capital murders, and eventually becoming the first assistant criminal district attorney. He's been board certified in criminal law since 2009, and he served in the U.S. Army Reserve's JAG Corps for 13 years. For the past 15 years, he's practiced primarily family law and criminal law in his private practice at the law offices of J. Cameron Cowan here in Rockwall. He served the community as a Fayette City Council member for 2 terms and is a member of the East Ridge Church of Christ. He's been happily married to his wife Katie for 32 years, and they have 2 children, Emily and Connor, both graduates of Rockwall High School. Please welcome Cameron Cowan. And our 4th candidate for County Court of Law Number 1 is Richard Archibald. Richard has over 27 years of experience handling cases with substantial courtroom experience representing individuals and businesses in state and federal courts across the country. Richard earned his law degree from the University of Pennsylvania and has served the Rockwall County community as a volunteer court-appointed special advocate, past president of the Rockwall County Bar Association, past president of the Rockwall Rotary Foundation, and teaching foundations of American government at Heritage Christian Academy. Both graduates of Rockwall High School, Richard and his wife Kelly raised their 3 children in Rockwall County. Richard is committed to applying the law fairly, firmly, and efficiently as judge of the Rockwall County Court of Law Number 1. Please welcome Richard Archibald. All right, candidates, just a few instructions, and then we'll jump right into the questions. There will be no opening statements, but following the final question, each candidate will be afforded a 90-second closing per candidate. The moderators will read each question once. If a candidate wants the question repeated, please let the moderators know. The questions will be 60 seconds, and other candidates will also be afforded 60 seconds for their responses. The shorter response time for this forum will allow candidates to be asked a larger number of questions. In the past, we had much longer responses at times. We will rotate who goes first on each question. Do not feel obligated to take your full-time allocation. Please speak into the microphone so folks in the audience can hear. Sometimes speakers say, I have a loud voice, I don't need a microphone. For a room this size and for the broadcast, yes, please speak clearly into the microphone so everyone can hear. So you'll see up front, we've got our timers with the lights. When you start your response, the green light will come on. When you have 30 seconds remaining, the yellow light will come on. And when your time is done, the red light will come on. The moderators will endeavor not to cut you off mid-sentence, but again, please be respectful of the time allowed. And a special gift from me as your moderator, so you don't have to listen to me run my mouth anymore tonight. At this time, I would like to offer some thanks for the folks who helped put this together. First of all, the county party for putting this together. Patty Maggio and Francis White, our timekeepers. Andrew Greenberg and Brett Bushnell, our moderators. All of our candidates. A shout out to Blue Ribbon News, who has been broadcasting this forum and many others for many years. Our county security detail. Our IT representative, Mr. Sebastian, who's over here. Our maintenance crew, and our signing crew. An event of this scope does not just happen. There's a lot of planning that goes into this. And last of all, I'd like to thank our forum committee for everything that they've done. And at this time, y'all don't have to listen to me anymore. I'm going to turn it over to our lead moderator, Mr. Andrew Greenberg, and his assistant, Brett Bushnell, for the remainder of the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Peak. Candidates, as Mr. Peak said, we are going to rotate speaker order. So for this question, the order of speakers will go Ms. Miller, Mr. Massar, Mr. Cowan, and Mr. Archibald. If you need me to repeat the question, I certainly can. Question 1, why are you running for County Court at Law Judge, and what experience proves you're ready to do this job on day 1?
Well, thank you very much. Is this on?
Nope. Flip the thing up.
Yeah? Yes. All right, just making sure. Thank you very much. My experience for this court is I started coming in practicing law here in 2013. This court is a misdemeanor court, not a felony, a misdemeanor criminal. It is a family law court, a probate court, a guardianship court, and it also handles civil cases. That is my practice. I have been in this court since 2013. I love doing everything this court involves. Everything this court does, I'm on an ad litem list. I'm appointed as a mediator to handle cases in this court, and I also am appointed to handle estates administrations from this court as it stands right now. I'm running because I care about Rockwall. I do not want Rockwall to become Dallas. I want Rockwall to have a judge that knows all of the cases that this court is going to handle. I know this community. I know which organizations that our community needs to be part of and to be able to involve in this court as well, so that we can better serve our veterans, better serve our elderly, and better serve those that have been victims of abuse. That's why I'm running. Thank you.
First of all, thank y'all and everybody being here this morning. I know it's Friday night. I don't know what else you want to do on a Friday night rather than being an event like this. The one thing that separates me is that I am a judge right now. I am a judge. I was a former prosecutor and a former defense attorney. This is a trial court. I've been an attorney for over 30 years. I've handled cases, thousands of cases, involving criminal law, family law, CPS, juvenile law, mental health. I've handled those type of cases. I've handled these cases that County Court of Law handled. Why I want this job? I have a calling. I have a calling to be justice of the peace. I have a calling, and every day I strive to be faithful and to lead with integrity. And I know I'll continue my journey as judge in County Court of Law number 1.
All right, I'm Cameron Cowan. I seek to be the County Court of Law judge, County Court of Law number 1. I've decided to run for this because this position suits what I am as an attorney. I care about this county, and it's important that our judges and our leaders of our community are experienced in the kind of work that they do, with what this does. This court, County Court of Law number 1, handles mainly criminal cases, misdemeanor cases, but it has jurisdiction to handle felony cases. It handles about 50% criminal cases. It handles about 40% family law cases. So about 90% of its work is divided between that. And that's my practice. I moved here in 1983. I consider myself a Rockwall kid. Graduated from Rockwall High School. I care about this community. I enjoyed my time serving as a district attorney, being a public servant. I'm in a place in my career where I can afford to do that again. I want to serve this community in this capacity. Thank you.
Well, good evening. Thanks for being here. For me, it's about service, consistency, and community. Sometimes life presents opportunities for service, and that you were just fit for. And when this vacancy in the Rockwall County Court of Law number 1 came open, it fits me. My life experiences instilled in me the importance of firm and fair application of the law. Growing up with instability personally, with abuse and neglect, and seeing the law applied, and also having a trial and seeing justice served and been denied through an appeal also shows me the importance of the procedural aspects of the law and as well as the substantive. I have nearly 28 years of experience in practicing law, in courtroom experience, and I know how to evaluate evidence, how to analyze and apply the law, and to specific facts of each case. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. So for the second question, this is going to go Ben Nassar, Cameron Cowan, down to Richard Archibald, and then Tiffany Miller. You will be last on this question. For this question, this is a little bit of fun, but kind of help the audience get a little more feel for who you guys are as lawyers. With which current or former Supreme Court justice do you most align with, and why?
Well, he's a former Supreme Court Justice, Justice Scalia. Conservative, a man that I really, really enjoyed reading in law school, learning his style, conservative judge on that court. I believe that I'm a conservative constitutionalist. I believe in individual rights. I believe in smaller government. And that's what we want. That's what I want. And I believe that through service that I've done to this community, I believe that's who I would most admire as a Supreme Court justice.
All right, well, this is probably going to be a popular answer, but I also admire most Justice Scalia, and I got to meet him about, 7 or 8 years ago before, I'm not sure exactly the year he passed, but about a year and a half or 2 years before he passed unexpectedly. I admire him because he's what most scholars refer to as a strict constructionalist and an original intentist. So he wanted the law to be interpreted by the courts according to what the law really said. I think that fits me best. You know, I said in my introduction, in my bio, that I attend the Church of Christ, and I'm 4th or 5th generation Church of Christ. And if you don't know the Church of Christ, you don't know strict constructionalism. So it's rooted in my genes to interpret the law that way. Judges need to follow the law and follow the intent that the legislature made in the law and apply it fairly to all people. And that's why I identify with Justice Scalia the most and admire him the most.
Okay, so as he said, this will be a popular answer. Definitely Justice Scalia. I never got to meet him. I did work for a firm that his son worked with, and I thought just by chance I might get that opportunity. Didn't get it. I do teach or have taught for many years American government at Heritage Christian Academy, and we use Justice Scalia as an example of when we talk about the Constitution, because one of my favorite quotes of his is when he's talking about the right to privacy, some of Roe v. Wade, Bristol v. Connecticut, and he talks about there is no right to privacy in the Constitution. Rather, some judges have strung together this various constitutional amendments to create this right to privacy. And that boldness and who he was is why he's sort of my model judge.
Well, guess what? Any lawyer has had to go through constitutional law, and you read all the cases from the very beginning, how we got where we are, you have a true appreciation for the Supreme Court justice that look at the Constitution. They realize it is a document, and they go back when they do their opinions, and that's what it is. It's our foundation. And so I do join my fellow opponents. And when it does basically, I enjoy reading his opinions. I enjoy even now what he has done when I have to go back and do research and how he does stick to what the Constitution is. And that's how I believe. It's not just a document, I'm going to apply this today, apply this tomorrow. It is the document. It doesn't just flow and change with the times. And so that is how I believe that we need to follow. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to pause here and say we assure you that these questions are designed to find differences between the candidates. So give us just a few more to go through these. Brett and I are working actively to make sure we find those for you. But we are pleased, of course, to hear that everybody holds Scalia with such high regard. Okay, so for question number 3, the order will be Mr. Cowan, Mr. Archibald, Ms. Miller, and Mr. Massar. And please, candidates, make sure you're holding the microphone close to your mouth so that everybody can hear. In plain terms, how would you describe your judicial philosophy on punishment in criminal cases? Mr. Cowan.
All right, so a judicial philosophy on punishment in criminal cases. So every offense is categorized by its level, whether it's a Class A, Class B misdemeanor, or a felony level offense, state jail felony, 3rd degree, 2nd degree, 1st degree felony, or capital offense. So there's each range of punishment has a certain, or each punishment category has a range. I think it's incumbent on a judge serving in County Court of Law number 1 to keep in mind the standards of the community we live in and impose community standards of justice. And what I mean by that is when you evaluate what's the right kind of punishment for this activity, you should be taking into account what your fellow citizens, what your community members value for that kind of conduct, and impose a punishment within the legal range that reflects the values of your community for that offense.
Could you repeat the question?
In plain terms, how would you describe your judicial philosophy on punishment in criminal cases?
Well, punishment in criminal cases is based upon statutory, it's in the law. So I would review the law, and my philosophy is one of judicial restraint into following the law. That's what you, as the voters, put your elected representatives into the office to decide. Look at that range, listen carefully to the facts of each case, what was done, how it was done, understand that, and then apply the range that's appropriate for that crime.
Fair and just. That's plain and simple. I, as an attorney who is on the court appointment list in County Court Law number 1 and number 2, who also has an active practice with misdemeanor courts, most of these end up in pleas. So you want to make sure when a plea comes across, you're reading it, does it fit? Is it fair? Is it just? Is it too much? Is it not? And be able to take that as a judge and maybe bring the prosecutor in to talk to them for a minute and, hey, what's going on with this? But the answer, the very simple basic, is to make sure it's not only just for the community, but also fair. And we want to make sure that it is that, because I understand any ruling I make is going to have a triple effect through the community, whether it's going to affect that family, that person, and those around them. Thank you.
During the voir dire part of a jury trial, we have to ask, as attorneys, we have to ask each individual juror, can you consider the full range of punishment? And if you cannot consider the full range of punishment, you are not fair and impartial. So each individual person has its own set of facts that we have to consider. We have to consider the defendant, we have to consider the victim, and the safety of our community. Each case is going to be considered on its own facts. And in county court, the range of punishment is usually going to be 1 day or 0 days, up to 1 year in the county jail for a county court case. Felonies are obviously a little different story. But the range of punishment is individual per case. Each case needs to be judged on its own merits and for the safety of the community.
For question number 4, the order is going to go Richard Archibald, Tiffany Miller, then Massar, Cameron Cowan. We're starting to get it here, right? I want to encourage all candidates to hold up it doesn't sound as loud out here as you think it does, so make sure you hold the mic close to your face. The question is, do you support expanded use of technology like e-filing or virtual hearings in county court, and where should those limits be? Again, Richard Archibald, we're going to start with you.
I do support e-filing in the county courts, and I believe that's, for the most part, already in place. I do support e-filing in county courts. I believe that's already in place, and that's what I've been doing when I filed in county court law. And then the other part of the question had to do with
Virtual hearings.
virtual hearings. I believe that hearings should be held in the courtroom. I don't like the idea of virtual hearings. Things go wrong. The credibility of witnesses are difficult to determine in a virtual hearing. I want to see them in person. I want to hear them. I want to ask them questions if need be, either myself or through the lawyers. So I much prefer personal hearings.
As much as e-filing can be a pain, we do have to do it. It's something that's mandatory that we have to do. So, yes, unless of course it is something that you make a motion at the bench, but that's different than what your question was. So as far as virtual hearings, the Supreme Court has said live, that's what we do is live. However, I have had CPS cases where we have a doctor, and this court does handle CPS cases, and we have someone that may, rather than have them come over to spend 3 hours, if we can bring them on a Zoom, and I understand that, then we need to. If for some reason Judge Woodward was not able to handle a mental case, and we need to, a mental health hearing, and we need to bring that doctor in or do something by Zoom, the patient as well, proposed forward, I would continue to honor that as well. But any other time, I would definitely want my parties here, the main parties here, the attorneys here live, is where they need to be. The only exception would be is if there was like a doctor in a CPS case or something like that, as the judges do now.
Well, technology in court, technology is going to happen. E-filing, obviously, was mandatory. I do not want it to hinder people to have access to justice. People need to be able to get to court, file their cases. Not everybody hires an attorney. Most attorneys, all attorneys are supposed to do e-filing. Zoom, people need to show up to court. I am in court, I judge every day, and I do not like it when they're on Zoom. Things go wrong. I can't hear everything. But the way we run a trial, each party has a right to have their case heard. And if we have to make exceptions for people to be there, then we have to make those exceptions. But I prefer people to be in court. They need to be in court if at all possible.
All right, I'm in favor of e-filing. E-filing has made things a lot more efficient to not have to travel from your office to the courthouse to file a piece of paper. It just makes sense. That's how we run our lives on the internet and through our computers these days. Regarding virtual hearings, there's a place for virtual hearings. There are many things that happen in family law cases and civil cases that involve just discussions between the attorneys and the court. And I think that those kind of hearings can be done efficiently and properly by a virtual hearing. Anytime that there's going to be evidence heard where the judge is going to need to make a credibility decision, evaluate evidence, have a witness handle a piece of paper, look at a picture, talk to a witness, confront somebody, any of those kinds of things, those things need to take place in person because receiving the whole person, the confrontation of witnesses, and the right of the parties to have their accusers or their litigants in front of them for the purposes of evaluating their character and their testimony is important. It should happen in person.
Thank you. For our next question, the order will be Ms. Miller, Mr. Cowan, Mr. Massar, Mr. Archibald. And the question is, how do you balance parental rights with the best interest of the child in custody and family disputes?
It is very hard. I do family law, I love family law, and it is very hard to do. There's that new Constitution, Texas Constitution that we came out with that ensured parental rights. That's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out in the courts when it comes to CPS. The best interest is something you have to factor in. That's why you want to have allies like myself, amicus like myself. It also depends on what different cases there are. CPS cases have a different burden, a higher burden if you're looking at termination than they do just a regular family law case. When you're coming into doing just a family law and who the child should live with. The best interest should be rounded, not necessarily always meaning status quo that wasn't healthy for the child, but you have to go in and manage and see what's going on. Everybody loves their children, but sometimes it's not about love, but it is also about who can provide for, care for, and take care of their child, and make sure that their safety is their safety and their well-being is maintained. And that's what I do when I'm at Alliance. What I do is the advocacy to be able to go and advise and make sure that, the last thing we ever want to do is terminate someone's rights.
All right. Sorry. All right, so that is the real crux of the matter in most family law cases, is balancing the rights of parents and the rights or the best interests of the child. This overriding concern in a family law case, usually one that involves children, what's the best interest of the children? But we got to be real careful as state actors, as an arm of the government, to be careful about treading on the rights of parents. Nothing is more sacrosanct than the rights of a parent to raise their children in the way that they see fit. So before the government or a judge acting on behalf of the government or in a lawsuit of any kind limits the power of a parent to raise their children in the way they see fit, they better have some really strong, good evidence to determine that any of those powers should be limited. It shouldn't be the judge deciding they wouldn't have done it that way. So you do have to look out for the best interests of the children, but you got to also protect the power of the parents. Very important.
Well, you're supposed to ask questions that differentiate a little bit. Parental rights, they are very, very important to me. Those are our rights. And have government come in here and take your children away. They have a high standard of proof and a high burden to be able to do that. And that's what the state has to do in order to take your child and your parental rights away from you. So if we can get a system where parental rights are being maintained, where they can raise your children the way they want to be raised, keep the government out of your house like that, that's what I believe in. I believe in parental rights. Now, children being harmed in some sort of way, then something needs to be done. The question was, what do we feel about parental rights? I feel very, very strong about parental rights. In the state that they go after the children, they better have a good case.
I've served as a CASA volunteer many times on cases, and the role of a CASA is to investigate and be stable, be a stable person in those children's lives that are removed from their parents already. And what you see there is, yes, parental rights are important. We all feel that, we know that. But at some point, you start giving up those rights whenever you are not acting in the best interest of your children and of the child. And whenever you see those situations, yes, weighing them, but when someone is doing something that is harming the child, then parental rights are going to have to give way temporarily with the hope of reunification. Yes, kinship care, whatever other placement can be found. But the idea is to protect the children.
Alrighty, so this next question, we're going to go Mr. Massar, Mr. Archibald, Mr. Cowan, and then Ms. Miller. This question is, what role should alternative sentencing and mental health considerations play in misdemeanor cases at the county court level, and when is rehabilitation overused?
Well, mental health is obviously an issue that we deal with in the criminal realm here in Rockwall County and all around the state and the country. There are mitigating circumstances for mental health. Obviously, if you're incompetent to stand trial, you need to become competent. We cannot try people that are not competent to stand trial. If they're rehabilitated to a sense of capacity, then we will try the case. And each case just like other ways of punishment, you try to be tried individually and considered a full range of punishment for that person. Can that person get some help? We hope that person gets some help, because ultimately, a year in county jail, is that going to fix that person's mental health? No. It needs to get some help, put them on the right track, and hopefully we can find some resources to help mental illness here in our county.
Part of you says mental health as a sort of excuse to mitigate punishment for mental health. I'm not so much in favor of that. I would need to look at each case separately, but rehabilitation is important to the community, because if a person can handle their mental health problems, if that can be handled, then it benefits the community in a much bigger way if they can be back, not on the taxpayer's dime, but back being productive citizens, being in their family, taking care of their children. That is important. I have to look at each case separately, but I think it can be used.
Greg, could you repeat the question, Mr. Act? Understood.
What role should alternative sentencing and mental health considerations play in misdemeanor cases at the county court level, and when is rehabilitation overuse?
Okay, so alternative sentencing based on mental health reasons, I think the primary example of that where it's being used now and one that I would continue to support strongly is the use of the Veterans Court program. So there are many, many veterans who face mental health issues and crisis in their lives, and often are in the trouble that they're in, whether it's due to drug use or unstable living environment, or just different stressors in their life because they have PTSD or those kinds of issues. They've gotten themselves into trouble, and I think that those kinds of candidates should get the benefit of an alternative sentencing kind of program. And Judge Roach, who's a former district judge in Collin County, runs the veterans program that Rockwall participates in. I think that's a great program, and we ought to take full advantage of that at all times. I'm not aware of the rehabilitation being overused in that regard.
If I were elected, I would want to hopefully be able to bring in a mental health diversion court. I know it's used in other counties. I like to talk to Kenda and talk to her with some of the other judges and some other people in other counties and see what we can do to bring that over here. If that's something we can do, if it's something we're putting a Band-Aid on, or is there true help, long-term help that they need. I joined Mr. Cowan that I do believe that we can do more regarding Veterans Court, getting that information out there, and find out what addresses do we need before we start looking at punishment and everything else. But most importantly, I want lawyers to do their jobs. I want the defense counsel, especially if you're being paid by this county, if there's an issue with your client, bring it to my attention, bring it to the court's attention. The district attorney, when you're reading the information, you're watching the videos, if you think there's an issue, let's talk about it. So before we just keep doing the cycle over and over again, let's see what we can do to see if we can fix it. I do not think it's being overused in this county at all. Thank you.
Okay, next question. The order will be Mr. Cowan, Ms. Miller, Mr. Archibald, and Mr. Massar. How would you handle conflicts of interest and ex parte communications, especially in such a tight-knit legal community? Mr. Cowan.
All right, very carefully. Really, conflicts of interest are things that come up all the time. Either between litigants that I've represented before. I have repeat clients. I have people that know people that hire me to be their lawyer, and I develop a conflict of interest. I have a strict, if there's any inkling, a policy about if there's any inkling of a conflict of interest, it's just not worth creating an issue for the parties involved, or for me as a litigant, or the representative of a litigant, or in my capacity as a judge. And then the second part, I'm sorry, Andrew, with the...
Well, just being in such a tight-knit legal community with...
Right. So that's a problem, and of course, I'm classmates with at least two of our sitting district judges, and I know a lot of the people that have been raised in this county, and you just have to make sure that you're not going to side with your friend. And if there's a question that might be perceived that you're going to do so, you should remove yourself from the case so that the litigants don't feel like they've been slighted.
There should not be any ex parte communication between lawyers and a judge. And so if it is happening, then I would want to make sure if someone comes in and says, hey, now truly it does sometimes happen, hey, look, this happened, I've already spoken to my counsel, we're going to have to come and reset this case. That's one thing. But having a true conversation about a case, that should not be happening, and I would not have it. I'd say, hey, wait a minute, what's going on? We need to bring in the other attorney in here with us so that we can take care of it. As far as any conflict, if I thought for any reason there would be an issue, if I've represented this person before, or there's something I know way too much about this family situation, I would automatically recuse myself. And if someone thought, hey, wait a minute, I didn't remember representing them 13 years ago, you're my attorney, then I would recuse myself as well. Because I don't want there to be any issue, because I will always want to make sure that everybody understands that it's fair and impartial.
Regarding conflict of interest, in a community like this, I went to elementary school in this community. I'm going to know people in this community that are going to come in front of my court. If I do truly believe that I can't fairly and impartially judge this situation, then I would recuse myself. That is part of what the judicial ethics would require. But I'm also being paid to adjudicate these cases, and if I can do so with it and still be fair and impartial, then I think it is my duty as the elected judge to do that. So I will. As far as ex parte communications, that should not take place, and I would not allow that to happen.
Again, we're not going to allow ex parte communication. If that occurs, if I see it happening, I'm going to tell them stop. We need to start this conversation over, and I'm going to go in a different direction. Okay? That's the way it's going to be. We're not going to have that. Our judicial system is based on the integrity of the courts. For a judge to be fair, unbiased, and independent. And if I feel that there's some reason why I cannot be fair, unbiased, or independent, and I can't judge this case on its merits on its own and be influenced in another way, then I probably do need to recuse myself. Just like Mr. Archibald stated, that we have a job to adjudicate these cases, and we have do not put ourselves in those situations where we are going to be ex parte by some sort of attorney that's violating our rules of ethics.
All right, so this question we're going to do Mr. Archibald, Mr. Massar, Ms. Miller, and then Mr. Cowan. How will you ensure fairness for self-represented litigants without disadvantaging those who hire counsel?
Well, I think the role of the judge in seeing that those pro se, we call it, litigants representing themselves fully understand. It is our duty to ask them the questions to make sure they fully understand not only the process, but the consequences of representing themselves, and even advise them to seek legal counsel. Now, if they choose to move forward in representing themselves, there's some leeway that may be given them over a practicing attorney. They're not subject to all the same legal rules, the ethical rules, in terms of appearing in front of the court, but they need to know the consequences and they need to know the rules. Happy to help them and get them to someone that can show them.
Person that represents themselves has a pull for a client, right? There are ways that we can handle this, especially in the criminal aspect. We can always appoint somebody, an attorney that's qualified to sit back and observe. And if this particular litigant has an issue, you can ask the attorney a question. But I'm going to hold these people accountable for what they want to do. I do it every day in JP court. I have pro se litigants every day. I can't help them. I cannot give them legal advice. On civil cases, I can maybe hash out some of the facts. But I have to be fair and impartial as we're sitting on the bench. And if there's an attorney over there doing his job, and the civil litigant's doing a great job, and he's got a fair trial. We want everybody to have a fair trial. So there are ways to help litigants that want to represent themselves.
For someone who does family law, when you come in to do a trial and there's a pro se litigant, and you're in another county other than Rockwall, and the judge is there to telling them what questions to ask, that's not the role of the judge. It's not my job as the judge to step into the role as an attorney. I can't be an attorney. All I can do is be a judge. And so I would advise them that if it was my child, see if you can go out to legal aid, see if you can find someone pro bono, or go hire an attorney, or get someone to help consult you with the questions and what you're about to do. As far as pro se's, they are held to the same rules of evidence and the same rules of decorum in the courts. And so I want to make sure they have it. I want to make sure they understand the risk, whether it's a criminal case or whether it is a child case, a family law case, what they need to do. The probate, you have to have an attorney. Guardianship, you have to have an attorney. So those you can't really do pro se. Thank you.
All right, well, I think that the answer is that it depends on the case. For an indigent person that's pro se in a criminal case, they're going to have the right to apply for a court-appointed attorney, and we got to give them time to make those applications, evaluate it, to give them a chance. In a civil case, especially in a family law case, the best judges I've seen that handle this, they make sure that they explain plainly and clearly that they cannot be helped with the rules of evidence. They cannot be assisted with how to introduce evidence. They can't be told what questions to ask, and so forth. And so they are advised, the best judges I've seen handling this, they give those litigants as much time as is reasonable to go get some help, seek some counsel, and maybe come back on a reset date with a counsel, somebody to assist them. Otherwise, it also matters, I think, the nature of the case. If it's a family law case, there has to be some leeway because the overriding interest is the best interest of the children. And you cannot hurt the best interest of the children by hardlining the rules of evidence with a pro se litigant.
Thank you. The order for this next question will be Ms. Miller, Mr. Archibald, Mr. Cowan, and Mr. Massar. Given that the County Court of Law is a trial court, spend a minute to tell us about the trial experience you have.
I have trial experience in all of these areas, from criminal law to family law. I've had family law jury trials. I've had family law contested hearings regarding probates. I've had contested jury trials. I've had contested probates. And like I said, I've had probate jury trial. I've had contested hearings when it comes to having guardianships, as well as one reason why I'm on the appointed list to be able to handle these types of cases. So my trial experience, I am a trial lawyer. I grew up going to trial with my dad, but most importantly, I've been a trial lawyer since I came here in this court since 2013. I've had trials in every area, and you always walk in ready to go to trial. You're always ready and prep. You prep for mediation for trial. You prep for everything like you're ready for trial.
Well, I have substantial experience in the courtroom, including contested hearings, and including trials, both jury trials and non-jury trials, both 6-person juries, 12-person juries, selecting a jury. Extensive experience in the rules of evidence in connection with presenting evidence for trial, publishing evidence to the jury. And so my experience in trials is substantial. I have a command of the courtroom at trial and know the role of the judge in a trial, which is a neutral, not an advocate.
I have extensive experience as a jury trial lawyer. I've tried somewhere in the neighborhood of 150 jury trials between criminal cases and civil cases. I am one of a handful of people who has tried a family law divorce jury trial in this county. When I tried that case about 8 or 9 years ago, I could not find help for anybody who had tried one in the recent memory to help me just get some advice on how to handle a family law jury trial versus the extensive criminal jury trial experience I had. I've tried everything from DWIs, assaults, possession of marijuana, all of the misdemeanor cases, tried those in large numbers, tried every kind of felony case you could try up to capital murder. It's part of my experience that qualified me to become a board certified criminal lawyer. You cannot do that unless you have extensive jury trial experience and qualify with the rest of it, including taking exams and so forth.
I have also a very extensive range of jury trials. I have tried way over 100 jury trials, mainly criminal, but I've been in the courtroom for over 30 years. Tried trials, jury trials, go in front of the judge. We have hearings every day, different courts. Been many different courts. But the one thing I've done also is I have presided over a jury trial. I presided over in JP court. We have civil cases, up to $20,000 people are having civil litigation over. And jury trials or, yes, traffic tickets, okay? You have a right to that trial. So I have extensive litigation experience in jury trials. I love it. I picked jury trials in this room, every room in this courthouse. In fact, I picked the first criminal jury trial in this courthouse.
Mr. Massar, you can go ahead and keep the mic because you're up first on this next one. And then it'll be Ms. Miller, Mr. Archibald, and then Mr. Cowan. And this is the final question, by the way. At the end of your first term, this is an election, at the end of your first term, what would success look like for your court?
Judge Draco and Judge Williams have been the only two elected judges for this court. Judge Wheeler right now is sitting there. I want to maintain the integrity of this court, the professionalism of this court, the decorum of this court, the way that this court treats people, not in a hostile way, doesn't get angry, but it has a nice even keel about it. I want my legacy to be in this court where, hey, you know what? I want the Rockwall County Court of Law number 1. I may not have won, but that judge heard me. I felt like I was treated fairly, and he made a just ruling. Thank you.
Well, to have the success after the first term and going up for election time again, I guess we need not to have an opponent in going in there for a second time. But having said that, you always want to build on the people before us. Judge Draco, those before him, Judge Williams, what Judge Wheeler is going to be able to do. My job would be to build on that, maintain it, but take it to the next step. I love an opportunity to meet with you on the ideas I have, that we can maybe eliminate some of the waste in this court with money, make sure the money's being allocated and used better when it comes to ad items, when it comes to appointments. I would like to also make sure that we maintain the friendliness of the courts and the court staff, which I know that we will, but also make it more accessible and make it more where the attorneys, this is your court, this is your $1.1 million. I want to make sure that you feel like you have access, that you're treated fairly, and that you understand what this court is about. And so those would be the things that I would think is success, to take it up one step further, which is what you always want to do the next person who comes after you in a role.
Well, success for me would mean, one, not being overturned on appeal. That's a waste of taxpayer money when that happens, certainly by something that I've done wrong. So I will work hard for that to not happen. Secondly, efficiency in the courts. We do have a record of efficiency in the court, and I want to maintain that. Maintaining the stability amongst the lawyers in our bar association and those outside of the bar association. Rockwall is known for that. It's known for our helpful clerks, people that enjoy doing what they're doing. So the stability, maintaining due process, and contributing to the public safety and the protection of our children. Those would be my successes.
I would say that my definition of succession, or of having been successful at the end of my first term, seeking another term, would be to reflect upon having built trust and integrity in the administration of justice, and not just in criminal cases, but also the family cases and the civil cases, and every matter of business that the court conducts. I think it would also be a hallmark of success for me to improve upon the efficiency of the court, to provide, hopefully, some more efficient management of the court system, to allow the DA's office, who is stretched as thin as they can be, to have more time in their offices working on cases, and to have the court provide additional time and availability of dockets for family law litigants and civil litigants to have hearings, so that there's not a delay and a backlog for just getting your case to the courtroom for the court to make decisions and to help families as they go through those terrible times.
Thank you. Undoubtedly, one of you will be elected our judge for County Court at Law number 1. So as we move into closing statements, and we'll put 90 seconds on the clock for these closing remarks, please dig deep and let us know why you're the most qualified and why the voters of Rockwall County should elect you as judge for County Court at Law. We'll start with Mr. Archibald, Mr. Cowan, Mr. Massar, and end with Ms. Miller.
Well, I believe the Rockwall County Court of Law number 1 needs a judge that knows this community, that knows Rockwall County values. A judge that you can count on for stability, professionalism, and sound judgment, who will listen carefully to the facts of each case that comes before it and apply the law as it's written to the facts of that case. I will do that. My wife and I each have deep roots in Rockwall County. I've practiced law in this community for over 20 years with the same partner, stability, and I have served the people of Rockwall County in various roles for decades. For more than 27 years, I've handled complex cases in both state and federal court across the country. I have a strong command of the courtroom and the role of the judge, and will serve Rockwall County well in that role. My life experience, my education, and legal experience have prepared me for a time such as this. Protecting children is priority. Entry-level crime should be addressed firmly and fairly. I'm committed to public safety, family stability, and applying the law as written. And I hope I can earn your vote.
when people think about justice, I think most people think about criminal justice. And that's important. It's important, criminal justice, but it's more than that. It's bigger than just that. Justice is also important in family law matters. Did you know that there's more divorce and family law cases pending in Rockwall County, Texas than there are felony cases pending in Rockwall County, Texas? That's the truth. And it's just growing. It's a large part of the legal system we have here. And in family law cases, these people are going through the worst times of their lives. The judge is going to be deciding the fate of their children in their divided households. They're going to be deciding about protecting women and children from abusive or dangerous situations. You're going to be dividing years' worth of property, retirements, and debts, and accumulations of a lifetime in a marriage. The principles of justice have to apply to that as well. Rockwall County Court of Law spends about 50% of its time dealing with criminal cases, and it deals about 40% of the time on those family law matters. It's crucial that the court, the person serving in this court, be well versed in both of those things. The work that this court does, those things, matches my experience over 30 years. It matches my expertise as a board-certified criminal lawyer. It matches my expertise as 15 years practicing family law, representing families and children in this community. I'm from this community. I am the best qualified candidate for this job, and I ask for your support and your vote.
Thank you, everybody, for being here tonight. We love this opportunity to be in front of you. Because most of the people here, we don't represent, I've probably never represented anybody here, or nobody here has been in front of my court. The only thing that people know me out in the community is my character, how I treat people, my demeanor. That's what I have. Currently, I am Justice of the Peace in Precinct 2 here in Rockwall County. Public service is a calling, and I lead my service through integrity, humility, and faith. Every day, I try to apply the law fairly. I respect the Constitution, and I treat every person that comes before me with dignity. Over 30 years' experience, I have extensive jury trials. Rule of law matters. Experience matters. Conservative judicial principles matter. I am the only candidate here who's been on all three sides of that bar. Been a prosecutor, been a defense attorney, and I've been a judge. I appreciate being here today to let you know me as a person and ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you for being here on Friday night. Thank you for the GOP and everyone that's made tonight possible. As I said earlier in my opening, this is a job interview. So if I haven't answered your questions and I haven't earned your vote yet, please come to me afterwards. I have my full resume on my table over there. You can see that when I started in this community, volunteering, not because I have children, because I love this community. I went to high school in Mesquite. I love this community, so that's why I've been involved in so many different organizations and so many things within the Republican Party because of this community and what I do. You've heard all of us speak. I can tell you, I have the information from the state bar at my table, and I'll be happy to show you where I am the only one here that has every single thing this court requires to experience, from the guardianships, to the probates, to the family, to the criminal, to the civil. I have the statistics from last fiscal year. It is about 50% criminal. The other part of it is a good mix. It's about a third of the criminal, of the civil, of the probate, guardianship, and the family law. This is what I do. It's why I'm on every mediation list and I'm on every outline list out of this court. Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter whose sign is in your yard. It matters when you go to vote. And I will ask you, if you had a leaky pipe in your room, in your house, would you hire and bring in your friend who's never done plumbing before, or would you bring in the licensed plumber who has experience? Better yet, your neighborhood doctor that you go to for your medicine, for the flu. If you needed a pacemaker or you needed a colonoscopy, who would you go to? That's, everybody, I'm the one who has the experience with this court in all areas that it does. And I appreciate your votes. And if I haven't earned it, please come over and get some information about me. Thank you.
And how about one more round of applause for all the candidates for Judge in the Court of Law. Before we close out, I want to thank each of you for being here. Being an engaged citizen is not a passive activity. It requires diligence, it requires time and commitment to get to know what's going on. But isn't our county worth it? Isn't our state worth it? Isn't our republic worth it? And if you're asking yourself right now, what's one immediate step you can do to be more diligent, you can sign up for Reagan Day, which is happening in February. So make sure you sign up for that. Thank you so much for being here. We're going to be right back here next Friday as we do this all again with a new round of candidates. Thank you, everyone.